Hello everyone and welcome to National Families Week. I'm Amanda Rishworth, the Federal Minister for Social Services, and I'm delighted to be able to offer some opening remarks for Families Australia as you come together to launch National Families Week. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of all the lands in which we meet and have travelled from to be together to celebrate this week. May we all pay respects to our elders past and present. I'm proud to be part of a government that is committed to delivering a voice to Parliament for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I'm recording these remarks from Canberra, the lands of the Ngunnawal people. I acknowledge our First Nations people watching this video from wherever they are. I'd also like to thank Jamie Crosby, CEO of Families Australia, for inviting me to offer this welcome and to acknowledge his ongoing advocacy for the safety, well-being and happiness of children and families across Australia. Jamie has been at the centre of many government policies aimed at improving the lives of Australian families. He and Families Australia were involved in the development of our 10-year national framework to reduce rates of child abuse and neglect, safe and supported. And he also is helping us to do important work in developing our early years strategy as a member of the government's advisory panel. Thank you, Jamie, for your contribution. This year's National Families Week theme, Living Real, Dreaming Big, encourages all of us to celebrate the importance of individual, family and community systems that support family well-being, safety and resilience. Family networks provide loving and supportive environments that encourage us to take on the adventures and risks that life holds and to chase our dreams. Every family is unique and all are vitally important. No matter what your family looks like, your family is valued. Our communities thrive when our families are healthy and strong. We know that growing up in a safe and connected family network set our children up to have the best start in life. However, we know it's not always easy. Family dynamics and interactions can challenge us. School, work, study, caring commitments and life pressures create bumps in the road. Raising a family is big work. In every family, we each have our own strengths, capabilities and qualities that contribute to family dynamics, and sometimes this diversity can be delicate to balance. The resilience and capacity of families continues to amaze me and should, of course, be celebrated. It would be a missed opportunity if I didn't take the time to outline the Albanese Labor government's own work underway to affect real and positive change and to highlight our goal for a better future for all Australians, particularly families and children. From a renewed policy focus on the early years, which I'll talk more about shortly, through to child protection reforms and a commitment to ending violence against women and children in one generation, along with innovative programs for children with disability. We're committed to the empowerment and support of Australian families. Some of the ways we're doing this is by delivering more flexible and generous paid parental leave and a fairer child support scheme. As part of our cost of living pressure in this month's budget, we lifted the parenting payment eligibility age for single parents to include families whose youngest child is under 14. Once legislated on September 20 this year, 57,000 single-parent families receive an additional support for $176.90 a fortnight through our changes to the eligibility. When parents are supported and empowered to look after their children, the whole community benefits. Our social security safety net is an important part of that. In January this year, the Minister for Indigenous Australians, Linda Burney, and I launched 2 action plans for our safe and supported national framework for protecting Australia's children. Safe and Supported sets out how all governments and the non-government sector will work together to help children, young people and families in need of support, particularly those who are experiencing disadvantage or who are vulnerable. Safe and Supported will be the key national initiative to achieving Target 12 under the National Agreement on Closing the Gap. It is also important as an example of how shared decision-making works to support and empower families. Every step of the process through Safe and Supported was done through shared decision-making. We also, as a government, provide long-term funding for programs like Children and Parenting Support, which is shown to have great results in supporting parents who struggle with elements of raising their young children. Our government is investing more than $139 million for 167 projects across each state and territory to empower and support families and their communities. Rural, regional and remote services, including those who support First Nations people, culturally and linguistically diverse families and those living with a disability, among the projects funded, further solidifying our government's commitment to all Australian families. A child's trajectory and a family's success should not be determined by postcode. One thing the evidence shows us is that early childhood interactions with formal education through play is vital for a child's motor, intellectual, problem-solving and social development. That's why we are supporting Playgroups Australia with an additional $8.2 million over 4 years to 2026 to boost access to diverse playgroup settings such as new community and volunteer-run playgroups, intergenerational playgroups and playgroups in remote and regional locations. We're also supporting upgraded facilities and the purchase of new materials for playgroups right across Australia. In line with the government's commitment to the early years, we've recently announced that $700,000 in new funding will be provided for Toy Libraries Australia. Through our many investments, we know supporting families, carers and kids holistically is what they need to have the best start in life. And parents and families with disability are also front and centre of our investments. Our government has provided $31 million to support young children with newly diagnosed disability or emerging developmental concerns and their parents and carers to have the best start through the National Early Childhood Program, as well as the Early Childhood Outreach Initiative. One of the centrepieces of our government's commitment to future generations is the work we are doing to develop a Commonwealth Early Years strategy. It is extremely important for children to be supported through their rapid development in the first 5 years of life, and this work is something I'm hugely excited by. The first 5 years, right through from conception to age 5, is a window where the trajectory of a child's health, learning, development and identity can be positively influenced more than any other time in life. As part of the development of our strategy, we've been listening to parents, carers, service providers, experts, advocates and researchers all over the country to hear from them what is important in the first 5 years and what care and interventions can influence even before a child is born. Maternal and family health are central to that, and strong peer support networks for a child is also important too. Empowering parents to feel confident having and raising children will be central to our approach in the early years. And in this month's budget, we drew on what we've been hearing from parents and families to seed some significant work in early childhood development outcomes. Our investments are down payment in the sense of the development of the strategy. One of these down payments is an investment of $22.1 million for 2 pilots aimed at early assessment and identification of autism in babies and toddlers aged 9 to 14 months across a diverse range of families. These pilots are not intended to fix kids with autism. Rather, pilots are to provide strength-based and family-based intervention to improve the outcomes of young children and their families. They are just one of the ways we will seek to support families living with disability. This is in line with our vision under Australia's National Disability Strategy for an inclusive Australian society that ensures people with disability can fulfil their potential as equal members of the community. I recognise that families and children who need support often interact with a number of systems, governments and organisations. All governments share this vision, and I'm grateful for the work and collaboration of my state and territory colleagues in this journey. In this month's budget, we also centred a renewed focus on place-based community and family-led programs, funded in partnership with philanthropy to tackle disadvantage. Our government will deliver almost $200 million for an integrated package that aims to break the cycle of disadvantage, with a targeted focus on breaking these cycles in the early years for Australia's youngest children and families and communities who raise them. These two investments alone represent what is possible when our policies and programs aren't siloed and look across government and communities to make investments that can change the development and wellbeing trajectory for little children and their families. The early years strategy will work to create a national ecosystem of opportunity that ensures that every child's development is supported. We are particularly committed to working with First Nations families to identify new ways to achieve outcomes under Closing the Gap. This approach is underpinned by the belief that First Nations people have a long history of child and family raising and traditions and cultural practices that foster kinship, connection to land and community. We have so much to learn from them, and they need a genuine say in the design, delivery, policies and programs, and of course services that affect them. For those who are watching this video today, I want to say thank you for listening to and participating in the Families Australia community for this National Families Week and throughout the year. We all know how important the wellbeing of Australian children, their families and communities are to the broader community. But I'm proud to be part of a government and a country where families and children are celebrated. Our government is committed to not just supporting families, but empowering them so they're able to raise their children. We want to empower families with confidence. This is how we set families and children up for success. Thank you and enjoy Families Week.